Welcome to This Is My Story, a podcast dedicated to sharing your story and how God has helped you take next steps in your journey of faith. I'm your host, Austin Carrick, and let's dive into today's story. Thank you for joining us today as we dive into today's story. So today I am here with our special guest, Ashley Mayer. Ashley, we are so excited to have you with us. So Ashley's testimony is what's going to be shared today in her story of just growing up in the Christian faith, growing up in a Christian home, walking away from the Lord, and then rededicating her life to Him again, which is such an incredible story of just God's love that so many people experience, and we hear so many stories of this happening. So we're so excited to hear this today of your story and what that was like for you growing up. So Ashley, tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us about little Ashley. What was she like?
Yeah. So I grew up at a church, pretty much. We went every single Sunday, youth group, like it was just not an option. We were at church, which was awesome. I did have a really great experience in the church, and we also went to a Christian school. So K to 12, I was
double
immersed
in the Christian atmosphere.
And at one point the church was the school. Like it was like the same church and school and like building. So we were like there all the time, like that same building, which we walked to from home. It was like really kind of cool. Like, but we grew up
That
there.
was your home.
That was my home.
Home was your second home.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And it was really good. I prayed the prayer. I was 5. I remember it very specifically. And I think it definitely moved me as much as it could a 5-year-old, but, life didn't necessarily change all that much after that. It was just like, I did the thing. I prayed the prayer. And yeah, we went to church and I knew exactly what to say and like
what to say, what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
But yeah, that was kind of my background. I was immersed in it. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So this church, was it the same church throughout your entire childhood?
We actually switched churches. We were going to a church and the pastor stepped away, and that was really hard for my family. So we had a church switch, but it didn't stop us from going every week, and we were just able to like get involved at the new one. And it was an every Sunday thing.
So you prayed the prayer at 5 years old.
Yes.
You said, Jesus, come into my heart.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first real encounter with the Lord like?
Yeah. So I remember this very specifically. I was in 3rd grade. My friend had just moved away, my best friend, and that was like earth shattering for like a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
But I had a very specific prayer from the Lord, a dream from the Lord, that involved this new friend who actually moved in place of my best friend. And it really like shattered my world. It rocked my world. And as a 9-year-old, I didn't realize, how God was using me at that moment. But I cried for days and I was like, what is this? It was just heavier and weightier than I ever could have, thought. Yeah, it was life-changing for me.
Yeah.
But God was kind of gripping my heart, and He was saying, hey, I have a plan for you. And yeah, it was heavy. It was heavy,
wow.
But I remember it specifically. And I, even to this day, get emotional when I talk about the details of it, because it was like, it
so
just changed my
such
life.
a weighty dream at 9 years old. What do you do? Do you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, Mom, Dad? Like, do you remember those details? Like, what did you do when you had that dream?
Yeah, I think it was, just to give a few of the details, just to make it make sense for you, probably. But in this dream, a little background: the person who moved into my neighborhood, my parents suspected she wasn't a believer, and so their main thing was, well, don't hang out with her. Like, she doesn't believe what we believe. And
This is in the dream, or this
is real life?
Oh,
this is real life.
Gotcha.
And I didn't agree with that. Something about that just didn't feel right to me. Yeah. Fast forward a few nights, I have this dream where I'm like euphoric and happy, and I think that I'm about to be in heaven. It's like we're in the clouds, and it's very like, I'm happy. I'm like excited. I'm pumped. And she is standing in front of me, and behind her is just this huge crowd of people. And they're all staring. See, I always get emotional when I talk about this.
That's okay.
Yeah, but they are standing there looking at me, and so sorry. I told myself I wouldn't do this, but she told me, she asked me, why didn't you invite me to your party? And then...
That really is a weighty dream for a 9-year-old. Wow.
Yep. And they all started saying that. Yeah. And I woke up and I was like, that's not going to be my reality.
Wow.
I decided that I wasn't going to let my influence be missed, and I wasn't going to let God not use me because I didn't feel like, and it wrecked me.
Wasting the opportunities. Yeah, not wasting the opportunities that God's putting in front of you to make connections with people that might not know him.
Right. And it was like an influence thing too. It was like her and then people behind her and people behind her. And I realized even just one person that I could witness to could make a lasting effect. And fast forward, I did witness to her because I don't even know where she stood. Our lives actually didn't really cross paths much after that. But yeah, that was the first time that God was like, I'm going to use you. Like, I have a plan for you.
And whatever you did then, may have planted a seed for her, like to today. Again, your lives moved paths, and there's so many times that we do that with people where we meet people, and I'm like, I don't know if this is just for a season. I don't know if this is a lifetime relationship. But steward those friendships and those relationships well, and just plant those godly seeds. That we know that He's put us here to do. That's incredible. So 9 years old, you have this dream. What does your life look like after this dream?
Yeah, so that's the thing. I'm going to the Christian school. I have chapel every Wednesday.
You have a new fire inside of you?
I think for a time, but I really think that I had a lot of ugliness in my heart, though, because I felt like my heart was hardened in the fact that, okay, I'm doing the right things, right? I have Bible study, or I have Bible class every day. I have chapel every Wednesday. I'm memorizing verses every week. These are things that I had to do for school. And so I'm like, okay, I'm doing the right things, but my heart wasn't really changed. I feel like I got into a rhythm of checking off the boxes that I needed to, but I didn't feel like I was really a heart change.
You weren't rooted in any of
it. Wasn't a personal relationship at that point for me. And I think through middle school, through high school, I just fell further and further away. And I just had
So as you're falling away, on the surface, people are saying, Ashley, wow, you're involved in all these things. You know the scripture, you're doing these things. But on the inside, you're saying there's no heart change. And
and I think outside of school and church, people probably wouldn't know that I was a Christian. That I just wasn't my life wasn't changed, if that makes sense.
It wasn't reflecting what you were doing in the church.
Right, exactly. So, I think throughout my middle school and high school was when I just kind of I still was going to church. I was still doing the things, but it wasn't a heart change for me at all.
Wow. So in all of this, is this something that you're saying people outside of the church, were your parents? So now you're a parent at this point in your life. Did your parents know that this kind of stuff was going on?
I think so. I had some relationships that weren't the best for me, and I had been making some mistakes that they ultimately found out about. So I think they definitely had a feeling that there was, I was just making mistakes. I think that's what it was. And it wasn't a surprise to them when those kind of things came out, I guess, if that makes sense.
That season of your life, were you convicted by the Holy Spirit where you're like, I am not doing what I know I should be doing?
Totally.
Yeah.
I think absolutely. I was in this rebellious stage of I knew what I was supposed to be doing. I knew that this was wrong, but I was too focused on myself and really what I wanted and the friends that I had. And I wasn't rooted in the truth. I was just kind of letting the waves of life take me. And
So you went to Christian school for all the way up through high school, is that correct?
Through 12th grade,
So you graduate from Christian high school and you go to college. Did you go to a Christian college?
No.
No, okay.
Nope.
So what does that experience look like then? Because you're living this Christian life in Christian school, and you're saying that people in the church would say, oh yeah, she's a Christian, but outside people wouldn't say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you remove yourself from the Christian atmosphere that put in.
Yeah.
What does life then in college look like for you?
Yeah, that was when it got way harder for me because I mean, I felt like a really small fish in a huge pond because I mean, it was a public college. Now I commuted, so I didn't actually live there, but still it did feel like, wow, the world is like huge compared to my tiny bubble, you know?
Yeah.
And my tiny bubble really did protect me from a lot of things too. So when I was in college and when I wasn't living at home anymore, like I was living with friends and roommates and things like that. Like, I think that I wasn't protected and I didn't have that core foundation like I was talking about. So it was the rock bottom. It was rock bottom for me, you know, and it wasn't like the entire 4 years, but like towards the end of college, I had made enough mistakes and I had lost a lot of friendships, a lot of my relationships, and it was because of the decisions I was making.
Would you say that it was Christian relationships you were losing because you were living a non-Christian lifestyle, or was it non-Christian relationships you were involved in and you were just that non-Christian that even they didn't want to associate at that time?
It was both, and I think it was the Christian friends didn't agree with the way that I was living my life, and so they were like, I don't have time or space for this. And then I think the other side of it was the relationships that weren't based in like Christianity or anything like that. Like, they were surface level friends from the start. So you know what I mean? So they weren't even real, true friendships that I kind of invested a lot of my time and energy into. And it turned out that they were never really real friends. They were college friends, you know? So
you hit this point where you call it rock bottom in your life.
Yeah.
And that's in the college years? Is that correct?
Yeah, right after college. Yeah.
You hit this low of your life.
Yeah.
How are you feeling then at that point in your life? So again, you know biblical truth, you know these things because they've been spoken into you as you're growing up. You never really rooted into them.
Yeah.
How do you feel at this point in your life? Are you like, is the Holy Spirit convicting you at all? Like, oh, this is not right. What does that look like?
I think I had to get to rock bottom where I lost my friends.
Yeah.
You know, I moved back home because nobody even wanted to live with me anymore. Like, it was a very ugly time, but I think I had to. I think God was like totally speaking to me, and he did speak to me, and he used that. Like, he was the only person there for me other than very close family members, but like, he was the person. I felt like the only relationship that I had, even though I had disappointed him up until then, he was there for me. And that was like, I knew that much. Yeah. And so that was like get down on your knees and like, surrender to him and be like, I need you because this is not working out. Like, I'm destroying my life in ways. And I just, I got to the point where I was like, Lord, help me. And he was there for me.
Yeah, it's incredible how we live lives and we're so me focused and like it's me, it's about me, it's about me. And he, who it's all about him in reality, is like coming to us, and like it's amazing how he can help change that perspective on us of, no, it's not about me, it is about him, and it's about his glory, and what am I doing to spread his word and his gospel to others. So like that's so incredible. So we get to this point where you're now living back with your parents. You've got no friends.
Yeah. It's sad, but it's true.
Yeah. And I know we've done disc profiles. We're very similar in disc.
Yes,
I remember
we are.
seeing that. And I know in my personality type, like that becomes a rock bottom point where you're saying, man, the way people think of me, like I very highly value that in my life.
Totally.
So I know you're that way based off of personality tests that we've compared before.
Yep.
So that's a hard spot to be in. I know for me, like that would be a crushing spot.
It was,
The Lord's drawing you in at this point. So what does that look like? What's your next step? You hit that rock bottom. What's your next step in your life?
Well, the first thing I did was I got back into the Bible. Like, I was like, when was the last time that I really had daily devotions? You know what I mean? I spent a lot of time praying. I had a lot of time to pray. Like a lot of time praying.
You didn't have any friends anymore, so I had to talk to somebody.
Like it's sad, but it that was the reality of it at that point. And I had a worship night at my old church that I went to, and I feel like the Holy Spirit 100% convicted me and said, drop everything, drop the control that you're trying to hold on to, and surrender to what I have in store for you. You know, he had something in store for me, like right around the corner. I didn't know it at the time, but I pretty much said, like, Jesus, take the wheel, like take the wheel. Hands in the air, worshiping, like tears down my face. Like, I can't do this anymore. I'm destroying what I have. Please take the wheel. Like, I need you to take over here. And he did very, very quickly. Like, I'm talking like that day, he showed up for me. So.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah. So you give your life, you rededicate your life to the Lord. Yeah. You're saying, I'm all in at this point. Yeah. Like, Lord, take it all.
Yeah.
I know you're married now. Yeah. So where does your husband, where does Caleb come into the picture? So
that was like the coolest thing, that God was like, hey, just surrender. I literally, the night of that worship night, I had a friend text me. I was on my way home. I'm crying because it like had wrecked me, in like the best way. Yes. Like God wrecked me in the best way. And she texts me and says, hey, this guy is asking about you. He's in Lititz and he wants to meet you.
The same night?
The same night. I'm not even kidding. This is the same night. And this is already after worship night that started at like 6:30. So like it's later and I'm like, that's weird. She's like, he's at a basketball game at Lititz, like in Lititz. He wants to meet you. I'm like, who is this guy? I had no idea who he was. I had no idea by the name of him, like who he was. And I'm like, okay, God, is this from you or is this still me trying to like, if I say yes, if I say yes to this, am I falling back into the same habits of trying to take control of my life, you know? And I had a peace about it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. Yeah. And I met my husband that night. Yeah. Wow. And it was like, we were engaged less than a year later. We saw each other every day from that moment.
Did he see you up at the benches? And he's like, this one's for you. Yeah. Like a dunk or something? Was he good? Was he a good basketball player?
It was after the game. So we met at a restaurant.
Okay.
No, and he was coaching. So it was a little bit different.
Oh, gotcha. He wasn't dunking.
He wasn't. No, he wasn't. But which is funny. Yeah, we met at a restaurant and fast forward, we got engaged at that same place. And it was such a God thing. At the
same restaurant?
Same restaurant.
Oh,
so it's like our place. But yeah, God was working on his end too, which was really amazing. Like God needed me to get to that exact moment. Yeah. And then he was like, look what I have for you. Like, you're finally ready, That's
a beautiful and incredible story. So, okay. So now you meet Caleb, your husband, and you got married then. What's the next season of life then for you? Yeah, so it was COVID. I am a new mom. I have a 1-year-old, and I lacked community. We lacked church community, but I also didn't have a lot of mom friends. And so I'm like, I need to invest in friendships with like-minded people. Because like I said, I had lost a lot of relationships that I didn't gain back for good reason. God was kind of picking and choosing the people that he knew I needed in my life. And so, I was walking with my son and I was like, you know what? Well, actually, I wasn't like anything. God was like, hey, you should start a group in your town, a mom's group. It should be a Christian group. And I'm like, what? Like, I was like, I've never led anything like that. I mean, I was a teacher, but I wasn't leading adults. I'm like, that's crazy. Put out the feelers, I'm like, God, if you want this to succeed, then I will do this. But, you have to make it clear to me that this is going to succeed. Lititz Stroller Gang started in 2021, and we're still meeting every week. We have devotion and prayers every morning when we meet. So this started as just you. Yeah. What's the first week of Lititz Stroller Gang look like? Oh my gosh, yeah. I was nervous as anything. Yeah. I actually didn't know if anyone was going to show up. I had no one, even no friends. Like Facebook ads? Yes, it was like Facebook. That? I put it out there. I said, this is where I didn't even take RSVPs. I had no idea if anybody was going to show up. So me and my 1-year-old are sitting at the park. Like, I brought a stroller, a blanket, and toys. And I'm like, will anybody come? I have no idea. I truly was like, God, you need to show up. And if not, then I'll just go home, Yeah. And 17 moms came that day. Wow. And I knew nobody. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's a need for this. It wasn't just me who needed that. Yeah. And it's just been growing ever since. It's been like the biggest blessing to me. And it was such a God thing. Like, he told me to do that. And I'm just so glad that he did. Fast forward, we're in the year 2023. Yeah. What was your biggest Lititz Stroller Gang outing? What did that look look like?
Oh boy. I mean, we've had like 60 moms come.
Wow.
Yeah. On our first birthday, which was May of 2022, actually, we had like 65 moms and like 100 something kids. And
do they have to like shut the streets down
honestly,
for this
people
going
say,
down the street?
yeah, there's this guy who's like, you're going to have to get a parade like permit or something for your crew. But it honestly, it's crazy, but it's like the coolest thing to see how God's using it, because it just keeps growing, and it's like super awesome. Yeah,
it's incredible. So for moms in the Lancaster County area, specifically Lititz, when do you guys meet?
Gang.
When is it?
My shameless plug. So Thursday mornings at 9 at Lititz Springs Park. We have a Facebook group. Definitely join that if you want to know the details, because that gives you all the details. But I've literally met some of my best friends at this group.
That's awesome. I love that. So we have about 2 minutes left. So go ahead, Ashley. Tell us, what has the last year of your life been like? You and your family started attending Victory Church a year ago. And we are so honored to get to know you and your beautiful family. What has that year been like for you? Yeah,
I think the one thing lacking in my life was church, like a church that we were committed to. We had been trying to find something that was this, for so long. And we started going to Victory, last August. So it's been a year now. And immediately I knew it was my home. Like immediately, it's the community. That's awesome. It's the environment. We got involved in a small group. Actually, we were like so privileged to be in a small group with PC and Pam for freedom. And so that, again, totally life-changing.
Yeah. That's a whole different podcast, freedom. Oh my gosh.
It is so good. And I am still having revelations about what that did in my life and the things that, like, the chains that really were broken. But super amazing. Honestly, we get up every Sunday and we're so pumped to come here, and that we never had that before. So we love it here.
Well, we love having you guys as part of the tribe at Victory Church. Super excited for you guys and just the next steps that we know God has in store for you guys here at Victory. So excited about that. Thank you for being with us today. This has been such an incredible time. We love you guys, and we will be doing another podcast. Listen out next Monday. You should be able to hear one at the same place where you listen to all your podcasts. So have a blessed day.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of This Is My Story. Hearing these incredible accounts of God's work in our lives reminds us of the enduring power of faith. If you've been moved by these stories, don't forget to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform and on YouTube. And don't forget to share the inspiration with others who might need it. This Is My Story is recorded at Victory Church in the heart of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. You can learn more about This Is My Story and Victory Church in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and be blessed.